Hello. Thank you for joining me today. European behavior is considered rude in other countries. Isn't that kind of like bad grammar? Other countries? I mean, Europe is a lot more than just one country. Some American must have wrote this title. Acting like Europe is a country. Anyway, I always find this kind of fascinating. Like, behaviors that you have no idea you're being rude. You're in some other country. You're waving, ha, and that means like, fuck you. Yeah, so let me turn the volume up. Let's watch.
This video was made possible by Wix. If you are ready to create a website, head over
I guess I'll say shout out to the infographics show. Go check them out. Link down below.
to Wix.com. Strange look while on holiday. You sense that you have broken some kind of cultural rule, but can't.
I wonder if this happens to Europeans a lot more often than Americans, because like I've never really been out of the country, so no, I don't get a strange look on holidays. My holidays are just, you know, if I might go to Florida once a year.
For the life of you work out what it is. Maybe you pointed your feet at a religious statue, or looked at somebody straight into their eyes. Today we'll look at things that Europeans think are perfectly normal, but the rest of the world thinks are ridiculous. In this episode of the Infographic Show, European behaviors considered rude in other countries. In parts of the UK, it's okay to turn up at a friend's house and just let yourself in through the back door, perhaps without even knocking. That sort of behavior could land you in hot water elsewhere in the world.
Yeah, no kidding. You guys don't just walk around naked in your own homes ever? You're never doing anything in your own home that you might not want anybody else to see or come in walking on? I mean, I can think of a couple things you might do that you wouldn't necessarily want just random people walking in to your house while you're doing.
Most Europeans leave their shoes on
Well, I walk around naked half the time.
when entering a house or religious building. This is considered to be extremely rude in Southeast Asia, where shoes should be left outside the home.
That's like here in America, that's pretty common.
Line jumping is a big issue in most of Europe, and particularly in the UK.
Where in the world would line jumping? Oh, hey, we're in this country, so he cut me in line, that's fine.
But in parts of
cares?
Asia, it is considered perfectly acceptable and even expected. On the subway in Asia, you will see passengers rush towards the last empty seat. In Europe, they would normally look around and decide who needs.
That's awkward. Why is it like that? I mean, I know that it's like, okay, it's a cultural difference, but still, to me, that's just like awkward. Like, wouldn't you feel weird if you rush to a seat and you get it? You get the seat and you're just like, haha, I got it. Back off, everybody.
Needs the seat most. It is okay to sit with your feet up in most of Europe, whereas in most Buddhist countries, this is considered deeply offensive. The feet are considered a dirty part of the body and should be out of sight most of the time.
What does it mean, feet up? I used to put my feet up on my desk in school, and the teachers didn't like that. Maybe they were Buddhist.
Likewise, a pat on the head is considered a friendly gesture in London, but it could land you in deep trouble in Bangkok. The head is a holy, sacred part of the body and not to be interfered with.
I would consider it kind of demeaning. Like if someone, thanks, chap.
If you drop a coin in Europe, it isn't the end of the world to use your feet to stop it from rolling away. But in parts of Asia, this is considered disrespectful to the royal family and the nation, and is considered totally rude. Never step on a coin.
Wow, I never would have even freaking fathomed that.
Nudity is considered acceptable on most of Europe's beaches, with women often sunning themselves in their birthday suits. In parts of Asia, America, and the Middle East, this could get you locked up. Recently, a woman was arrested for walking through the streets of Bangkok naked. Walking around shirtless, if you're a male, is considered almost as rude in Thailand, especially if you happen to have tattoos and you're eating or drinking at the same time. In fact, in the Philippines, it will actually get you locked up.
So you can walk around eating, and you can walk around shirtless. You just can't do it both at the same time.
Japanese also dislike the walking and eating thing, although the younger generations seem to be cooler with it. Public displays of affection, such as holding hands and kissing, are perfectly normal in, say, Paris or Rome, but taboo in most of the Middle East and Asia. In the US, you should refrain from kissing somebody who isn't a friend, lover, or family member. In Europe,
yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. Definitely refrain.
It's okay to get close to people, even to embrace strangers with a kiss. This is taboo in most other countries. Conversely,
I always thought that was fascinating about like France. You just walk up, like you kiss each other on the cheek. That's just weird to me. Like, doesn't it make it kind of strange when someone you don't want to kiss on the cheek? Like they come in for a kiss on the cheek. What if you don't want it? Like they smell or they're weird.
Londoners are very aware of social space, especially when walking in large cities. They may become angered if other commuters simply stop in front of them on the sidewalk or stand at the bottom of a set of escalators. Londoners are always aware of others' public space and don't step inside it. This display of anger over territorial space in a public area simply baffles most Asians, who have a much more relaxed perception of space, time, and travel.
A lot of this is the difference between Asia and Europe, which makes sense.
Europeans consider it very rude to enter an elevator before first letting the people inside exit. In Asia, they do it all the time. Americans...
I mean, I'm not even trying to Asia just seems like it's the most like complete flipped opposite of both Europe and the United States in a lot of things. So I don't mean to like be mean or sound like I'm being, rude to Asia or whatever. But my point is, that just sounds, it comes off like people in Asia are just more okay with being rude to each other. Like, I've seen videos of driving in Asia. They're just cutting each other off all the time. They're cramming, they're racing toward the empty seat. Like, they just don't care about being rude to each other as much. It's not as taboo, which is fascinating.
Are sticklers for please and thank yous, whereas in Europe, lack of polite particles are often overlooked and accepted. In London, the punk group the Sex Pistols openly mocked the royal family. That sort of behavior would see you behind bars in many countries. Also, television comedian Rowan Atkinson openly mocks the eccentricities of his own countrymen, which is something that could put you in hot water in other parts of the world. Most countries outside of Europe are super sensitive.
As someone from America, of course, that's just such a foreign idea to me that a band making fun of the government could get you locked up. Like, it just seems so silly.
About their national flag.
But it's definitely true. That definitely does exist.
So never joke about the flag or use it in an offensive manner. In America, insulting the flag, the Constitution, the bald eagle, military veterans, or in any other way insulting the patriotic status quo is to be avoided.
I mean, I would avoid it, but I would say 50% of Americans do it all the time. So
chewing gum is normal in much of Europe, but illegal in Singapore. Pointing in Europe is considered okay, but not okay in many other countries. In Europe, it is considered rude to ask people their age, but in parts of Asia, it is essential. Once you establish their age, you can employ the appropriate polite particles while engaging in conversation. While writing someone's name in red ink is usually okay in Europe, it is not something
reminds me of like Death Note.
You want to do in Korea.
You seen that anime?
In Europe, it is considered rude not to look someone in the eye when talking to them. In the Middle East, however, women are not supposed to make eye contact with men, as it is considered both rude and flirtatious. Travelers to Dubai have received lengthy jail sentences for public kissing. In 2009, a British couple were caught publicly kissing and were handed a 3-month prison sentence before being deported. An Indian couple, also in Dubai, were sentenced to 1 year in prison after hugging in a taxi. The taxi driver drove them directly to the police station and handed.
That's weird because Dubai is obviously super friendly to tourism. Like it's a big tourist destination. So the idea that they're locking people up, tourists up who hug in a taxi, like, wow, counterintuitive.
Them in.
Or counterproductive, maybe.
Also, if traveling to the United Arab Emirates, make sure you leave any cough, cold, or headache remedies at home or get a full doctor's prescription, as many over-the-counter drugs in Europe are banned, with travelers receiving heavy sentences for bringing them into the country.
Wow.
So wherever you travel to, and whoever you travel with, make sure you do a little research into the do's and don'ts and the country's customs before booking that flight. It might just save you from some severe embarrassment, or worse, a legal nightmare. And while you're at it, you should also research who is the best website builder. And
that was certainly fascinating. Especially, like, I don't know, certain things about, like, the coin. I never would have thought stepping on a coin. I mean, I guess it does have the royal family on it. Pretty sure walking in through someone else's back door is still strange, even as a Brit. The thought of just letting myself into someone's house gives me incredible anxiety. Yeah, that would feel so bizarre. And especially here in America, don't do that. Don't do that. They say, you know, UK is not the only country in Europe. Right. That's true. All right. Yeah, so it seems like there were maybe some inaccuracies potentially in here, but still fascinating. That must be why it has some dislikes going on here. Which, by the way, if you're wondering how I can see that, I got the plugin. It's like bring dislikes back or something. All right. Thanks, guys. I hope I will see you here tomorrow for some more fun reactions to Europe. Goodbye.